Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CDH. Today we are bringing you some sweet new commanders from New Capenna. We tried our best to see what we thought could be powerful new cards in the CDH format, and we definitely couldn't play everything from the set. So if you see a commander or a card that didn't make it, post it in the comments, and who knows, maybe it'll show up in a future video. Also, if you want to support the channel, come check out our Patreon, as it's the best way to support the channel and help us produce the content you enjoy. Also, if you're interested in playing with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community and we'll love to talk MTG or whatever strikes our fancy. And another benefit is we often let people know when we play and would love to meet some new people. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. Starting us off is Teddy, and he's brought Falco Spara, Pact Weaver. This is a Counters Matter combo deck that uses Devoted Druid along with Sensei's Divining Top to draw his deck. This deck can generate a lot of value from casting spells off the top, and plays with a lot of interesting cards that don't always see play. In the next spot, we have mtga Loots and Raffine, Scheming Seer. This is an Esper control deck with a Reanimator sub-theme, using the awesome Connive ability to discard Reanimator targets, and while using the counters to beef up creatures like Esper Sentinel. In the third spot is Fernando with Jinnie Fay, Jetmir's second. This stunning elf is a cool new token commander that can turn any token into either a cat or dog. This deck is a Dockside Teamer Sabertooth combo deck that, even without the combo, can easily punish slow decks by pressuring their life totals. And bringing up the rear, we have Hidden Planet X, bringing the Beamtown Bullies. This is a very unique reanimator list, as his goal is to reanimate quote-unquote bad creatures, but not to his side, but to give it to his opponents, as who can't be grateful when they get a free leveler on their upkeep. And when he's not reanimating, he has all the best Jund removal, and who knows, maybe there's even a World Gorger that might just show up. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Teddy starts off the game with a Flooded Strand, which he cracks for a Tropical Island, and shortcuts by casting a Drogana Treespeaker. Loots has a command tower into a Mana Crypt, and uses it on a Talisman of Dominance. But he's still not done, as he takes one to cast the Mausoleum Wanderer. Fernando plays and cracks a Scalding Tarn for a Taiga, and uses it on a Sol Ring. Hidden plays his own Mana Crypts, and then a Mana Conflux. He taps 2 on a Chain of Mephistopheles, but still not done with the hate pieces, he cracks his pedal and casts a Collector Oof.
No, fuck.
Teddy has a Tundra's land and levels up his Treespeaker. Loots takes 3 from his crypt and has an island. He then sends the Wanderer Hidden for 1, who takes the head. Fernando plays and cracks a Marsh Flats for a Savannah. Shortcutting, he uses it on a Llanowar Elves, and he then uses his Taiga on an Uvenwald Tracker. Hidden is safe from his crypt and also has a Marsh Flats, which he cracks for a Bayou. He follows this up by casting a Witherbloom Apprentice, and ending his turn sending this oof back at Loots for 2. Teddy plays a Waterlogged Grove as land and taps 4 for his commander. Loots takes another 3 from his crypt and plays an Exotic Orchard as land, which gets him his commander. He then moves to combat, and unfortunately the chains is really bad for Loots, as he connives 1, but has to discard a card due to the chains first. He draws and discards another land, and Hidden takes 1. Fernando plays a Plateau and tries out a new card from New Capenna, Smuggler's Share. And while the chains does put a hamper on the fun, it does at least sort some sort of value. Hidden untaps and can't find a land. He is safe from his crypt and just hands the turn over. Teddy starts off with a Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. He downticks the Walker to exile a card from the top 3, but passes after that. Loots takes another 3 and is really hating the chains, as if he attacks he'll lose his hand. So he has to hold off on combat and passes. Fernando untaps and admires the Smuggler's Share.
0 value so far, but it's okay.
I mean,
if it's
Change
0,
of Mephistopheles is not letting me do anything, so
yeah, no, I know. Special
get rid of it for me.
I wish I could, but I can't.
He doesn't have an answer, but does have another loot special as he casts a goblin sharpshooter. But loot seems to be the only one that can have the sharpshooter, as he mana drains it, ending Fernando's turn. Hidden is safe from his grip, but he hasn't drawn another land, and casts a Deathrite Shaman to hopefully get his 4th mana next turn. Teddy casts an inactive Talisman of Curiosity, and for 2 casts a Counterbalance. This is another card Luz can't stand for, and decides to Force of Will it, pitching a Flusterstorm. Lutz finally wins a flip and gains 3 mana from the mana drain. He uses it on a Dance of the Dead to get Fernando's Sharpshooter. He then moves to combat and sends the Wanderer and Raffine at Hidden, and connives too. But here is where things get a little weird, as Chains is a weird card. So Lutz has 1 card in hand, so he discards it to draw the first card off Chains. He then has to discard it to draw the second card from the Connive too. He then has to discard 2 cards from the Connive ability, finishing up. We do mess up, and Raffine should have only gained 1 counter, not 2, as Lutz only had 1 card left in his hand to discard to the Connive. But Hidden ends up taking 4. Fernando has a Forest his land and casts his commander, Jinnie Fay. Hidden takes 3 from his grip and taps out for a Buried Alive. He did forget about the Wanderer, as Lutz sacrifices it to counterspell the card. And Hidden also drains the table off his Witherbloom Apprentice. Teddy then goes to his turn and upticks Vivian on his commander. He then taps his Tree Speaker for mana and removes the level counter to cast an Elvish Mystic off the top of his library. He still has a floating mana and just relevels the Tree Speaker. And at his end step, Fernando asks Lutz if he's willing to make a deal for immunity from his Sharpshooter. Lutz says he doesn't negotiate in CEDH, and Fernando is forced to fight his commander and the Sharpshooter, as to not lose his creatures. Lutz plays a City of Brass's land and goes to combat. He swings the Raffine at Hidden, but doesn't realize if he's empty-handed, he'll just mill the card and won't get the draw and discard off the Connive. So Hidden ends up taking 3, but Lutz is done after that. Fernando has an Exotic Orchard, and then fights the Collector Roof with his commander. This gives him his artifacts back, and for 3 he casts an Imperial Recruiter. He goes straight for a Dockside, which he casts, but Teddy does have response, as he removes a level counter and takes 2 to cast the Mana Drain off the top of his library to stop the Goblin. Hidden is safe from his grip, but not having much else, just casts his commander, the Beamtown Bullies. The commander has haste, and he sends the bully at Fernando, who takes the hit. Teddy untaps and forgets about his mana drain mana. He downticks Vivian again to exile another card face down. He then casts a Sylvan Library, but is done after that. Lutz takes 3 from his grip and casts a Luminarch Ascension before passing. Fernando starts with a Finale of Devastation, and yes, he has mana from an off-screen Soul Ring, where X equals 4. He ends up finding a Toski, as it'll at least let Fernando loot. He then fights Teddy's Tree Speaker with the Toski before moving to combat. He sends the Recruiter at Vivian, and Teddy doesn't want to lose his shield counter and decides that Vivian has stayed around long enough. And at his end step, Lutz gets his first Luminarch counter. Hidden starts by taking 3 from his crypt. He then decides to play a little risky as he taps out, floating in green mana to cast a Culling Ritual. He drains the table with the Witherloom and gets a boatload of mana. But unfortunately, I don't know why I floated a green mana, as the only thing I had in hand was an Assassin's Trophy that I could cast with just green and black from the ritual. I end up casting the trophy on the Raffine, paying the ward cost, and Lutz grabs a snow-covered island. Hidden then sends the bullies at Lutz and hands the turn over after that.
Cleared my board, took out my commander, and swung at me.
What a jerk. I'm with you, Rick. That's just not fair. I got my spell standard twice, though. Twice!
It's
My
just annoying
sharpshooter!
to be excited to play Magic and then not play Magic.
I blame the James.
I would say this is coming from someone who loves his stack deck, so...
That is true. That is true.
Notice
Do
I
love-
don't play Chains in any stack deck.
Well, Chains is also freaking $2,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we play with proxies.
that's true.
Teddy has a simple turn, just fabricating for a Sensei's Dividing Top. Lutz also has a fast turn, just casting an Esper Sentinel. Fernando has another forest and moves to combat. He sends his board at Lutz, who doesn't block, and Fernando draws 3. And on his second main, he casts a Black Market Tycoon. Hidden draws, but doesn't have another land, and just sends the bullies at Fernando, who takes the hit. Teddy untaps and casts his top. He does pay for the Sentinel, and ends his turn topping. Lutz untaps and slams down a Windfall. Unfortunately for the table, Fernando responds with a Pyroblast to counter the Windfall. He does pay for the Sentinel, and Hidden also takes his opportunity to cycle a Veil of Summer, also paying for the Sentinel. Fernando starts off with combat. He sends the Toski at Teddy, with Janine and the Recruiter going at Lutz. There are no blocks, and Totsi draws Fernando another 3 cards. On his second main, Fernando casts an Elvish Mystic, following that up with a Sylvan Library, ending his turn with a Beseiju as a land. Hidden untaps and finds a Windswept Heath off the top. Hidden is too preoccupied with the land and swings his commander at Fernando, forgetting that the Black Market Tycoon can make a treasure, which he can turn into a 3/1 dog. And Fernando does just that, as he double blocks the bullies with the dog and the Elvish Mystic, taking the bullies out and ending Hidden's turn. Teddy casts a Wall of Roots and plays a Gaia's Cradle as land. Lutz taps 5 for his commander, and then moves to combat. He sends his Sentinels at Fernando and connives. Responding to the connive trigger, Fernando Enlighten tutors, with Hidden cracking his fetch for a Taiga. Fernando puts a Survival of the Fittest on top, and then Lutz connives, discarding a non-land to give the Sentinel a counter. Fernando then takes 2 from the Sentinel, and at his end step he gets a draw off the Smuggler's Share. Fernando untaps and Sylvans. He takes 4 for an extra card, with 2 mana then getting him a Collector Oof. Following that up with combat. Fernando sends Toski and the Recruiter at Hidden, and sends Jinnie at Lutz, who blocks with Raffine. Fernando then gets to draw 2, and follows that up with a Recruiter of the Guard to find a Grand Abolisher, but passes after that. Hidden draws and casts a Wheel of Fortune. He's kicking himself as he should have still had his commander. He gives a card to Lutz, and then discards a Leveler and some other goodies. Everyone discards and draws a fresh set of 7, with Hidden ending his turn with a Spire Garden. And at his end step, Fernando gets to draw 3 cards from his Smuggler's Share. Teddy has found his lands as he plays a Scalding Tarn as land. He cracks it for a tapped Hollowed Fountain, and then casts a Carpet of Flowers, paying the 2 for the Esper Sentinel. On his main phase 2, Hidden Natures claims the Smuggler's Share to prevent the token generation, although he really should have done that back on his turn. Lutz untaps and plays an Underground Sea as land. 1 mana gets him a Mystic Remora, and he follows it up with a Gilded Drake to try and take Totski. But Fernando has his swords on the Drake to stop the switch. Lutz then Phantasmal Images the Totski, really wanting the squirrel, and he then heads to combat, sending his Raffine at Fernando and the Sentinel at Hidden. Lutz connives 2 and discards another 2 non-lands to pump up his Sentinel, with both players taking the hit. Lutz then gets to draw 2 off his clone Totski, and at his end step, Fernando taps his Tycoon for a 3/1 dog, which just happens to be a boar. Fernando untaps and Sylvans. He takes another 4 for an extra card, and on his main phase, he casts the new Cat Daddy Jetmir. He follows this up with a Cabaretti Charm to put 2 more creatures into play. He gives 2 cards to Lutz, but the spell resolves, and Fernando then heads to combat. And thanks to the +3/+0, Trample, Vigilance, and Double Strike from Jetmir, he's actually able to take the entire table out and win him the game. And before I get into the game review, I want to thank our Patreon subscribers. Game review. Well, looks like the Cabaretti are the rulers of these streets, at least for now. But congrats to Fernando, as he was able to keep grinding away while the other decks did flounder a bit. The Chains and the Collector Roof really did shut Raffine down, and unfortunately for Teddy, he just couldn't find his land, and that really set him behind. But I do feel bad about Hidden's misplay. If he had simply attacked another person and kept his commander alive, he could have been able to leveler Fernando and take him out. And that probably would have let him stabilize, but you never know. This deck is still fresh, and I really like the janky bullies, and it will definitely keep playing and tweaking the list. Hey guys,
thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link, and if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.